Welcome back, Awakened Savages, and today's episode's going to be an interesting one. We're going to be talking about money, and more specifically, unmasking your money blocks. Because if you just ever looked at your bank account and just felt shame, right? Not because of what's in there or maybe what's not in there, but because it feels like a mirror, right? Because it reflects how out of sync your life feels. It's like no matter how hard you work, you're always chasing, right? Never ahead, never steady, just surviving, right? And to understand this, we need to understand that money isn't just numbers. It's not just math. It's energy. And it's more than that. It's feedback. It reflects how well you're managing your focus, your structure, your confidence, your decisions, right? You don't have a money problem. You have an energetic misalignment problem. And how do I know this? Because I lived like that for years. No matter how much money I made, it seemed like I just had enough to survive, but never enough to just breathe. And even after my spiritual awakening, I fell into the common trap. And I told myself, money doesn't matter, that it was all ego, all greed, unspiritual. But see, deep down, I was afraid of it because I didn't understand it. I had no coherence in that part of my field. I avoided it, right? Because it exposed how small that I felt. And seeing that incoherence and that avoidance, it cost me time, it cost me peace, it cost me options, it cost me freedom. Right, so see if you're stuck financially. This episode isn't about budgets, it's about energetic structure. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about rebuilding trust with yourself so money becomes a mirror of alignment and not anxiety, right? Because money brings up shame. Right, and let's just cut to the chase. Money brings up shame, right? Not because of the zeros, but because of what we think it says about us, right? And most men, they don't avoid finances because they're lazy. They avoid them because money has become a mirror of masculine inadequacy, right? You say things like, if I don't look at it, maybe I don't have to face where I'm failing, right? And to understand that, we really need to look at it from a neuroscience perspective, right? The brain is wired to avoid discomfort, right? Uncertainty triggers the amygdala, which is your threat center. And when finances feel unstable, the brain categorizes it as danger. But instead of taking action, you'll scroll, distract, numb. That avoidance becomes a dopamine loop, right? Cheap hits of feel good to escape long-term pressure. Right? It's not a discipline issue. It's a neurochemical imbalance fueled by emotional disassociation, right? And we can even go deeper than that. See, from an energetic perspective, money responds to more than just, working hard and effort. It mirrors your clarity, your consistency, and how connected you are to a deeper purpose. Right? And when you're out of alignment, saying one thing and doing another, hiding from the truth, your energy gets scattered all over the fucking place. And when your energy is scattered, your focus fractures, your confidence drops, and so does your ability to generate and sustain momentum. Right? This is why it can feel like no matter how hard you work, your finances stay stuck or stay the same. You stay in lack. Right? Because it's not just about the grinding and the hustling. It's about whether your actions are lined up with your values. It's about whether you're moving with conviction or you're moving from fear. Right? When you clean that up inside, your outside will start to catch up. And that includes your money. Right? And we can look at ancestral coding, right? Many of us were raised by men who either avoided money altogether or controlled it with fear or, for example, shamed others for needing it. But see, unconsciously, right, you inherited that belief. Money equals danger. Wanting more equals selfish. Abundance equals betrayal. Then this creates a silent contract to stay small, to keep your needs basic, to avoid building wealth, because deep down, wealth feels unsafe. But this is the truth, right? Money is not the enemy of your purpose. It's the amplifier of it. Right? When you have financial structure, you create time. When you have time, you create vision. When you have a vision, you lead. Right? And it all starts when you stop avoiding the mirror. Right? Because it's time to drop the shame. Right? And I know that's easier said than done. Because if your money feels out of control, if it disappears faster than it comes in, if you feel stuck financially no matter how hard you're working, you're not alone. right? And it's not just about budgeting tips or better habits. This goes much deeper, right? As I said, money is energy. It flows to structure, it responds to presence, and it amplifies whatever state you're in when you engage with it. So if you're out of alignment in your field, which is your nervous system, your decisions, your values, you will leak money faster than you can earn it, right? And it's time to look at what's really going on, okay? And the first leak, we would say, right, is avoiding the financial reality. This is the most common one, right? And it's also the most costly one. If you have that feeling you don't want to open your banking app because you're scared to look in it, you ignore the bill, you pretend that your debt isn't just, accumulating. You hope and wish that it just sorts itself on its own. Right? Here's the reality there. Avoidance doesn't protect you. It compounds the problem. Right? When you won't face the numbers, you're training your system to collapse under pressure. Money doesn't respond to hope or wishful thinking. It responds to clarity. Right? Your field stabilizes the moment you stop avoiding and start accepting what's real. Right? And the second one, emotional money patterns. This is things like, you ever catch yourself saying, I deserve this after the week I've had. Right? I'll feel better if I buy this. Right? Let's just get this. It's not that much. That's emotional spending. And that's often rooted in a much deeper wound, right? Trying to compensate for what you haven't yet become, right? Buying significance, comfort, escape, identity, right? You don't rise financially by soothing yourself. You rise by becoming someone that you respect, right? So audit where your spending is about emotional avoidance and not actual alignment. Right. And the third one, devaluing yourself. This is one that I lived for years. Right. This one's quiet, right? But it bleeds power super fast, right? So this is when you undercharge your work. You say yes to projects that you don't want. You feel awkward asking for what you're truly worth. Right? You treat your time like it's negotiable, right? Your energy like it's infinite. Your skills like they're nothing special. Right? And see, the invisible message that you're telling yourself is, I'm not worth it. Every time you undervalue yourself, you teach the world to do the same. This isn't just about pricing, it's about identity. Right? Your finances reflect how clearly you've owned your worth in this world. Right? And the last one, scarcity-led decisions. Right? This is when you're moving from fear. Right? I better take the job or I won't survive. I can't invest in that. Right? I need to hold on to what I have. Right? When you're doing that, you're not actually playing safe, you're playing small. Right? Scarcity makes your nervous system seem reactive. Right? It short circuits long term vision. It makes you chase crumbs and you call it responsibility. Now, abundance doesn't mean excess, it means alignment with truth. Right? So decisions aren't made in a panic, but they're made from your power. Okay, and let's be brutally honest here, right? I don't know about you, but most men were never taught how to have a healthy, empowered relationship with money. I grew up in a council estate in Glasgow where money was very scarce. So nobody ever taught me about money. Right? I was taught to hustle, to grind, right? To measure my worth in productivity, right? And to pretend I was fine when deep down I was fucking drowning. Right? But see, true wealth doesn't come from effort alone. It comes from energetic integrity, from living in such deep alignment that your field becomes a stabilizing force. And money can trust you with more. And that work starts with one moment, the mirror, right? With you, right? Because when I look in my experience, right, I've had such a complicated relationship with money. For most of my adult life, I earned good money, sometimes really good money. But somehow at the end of every month, I was broke every single time. Right? Back when I was drinking and I was using drugs and I was gambling, I knew exactly where it went. Right? Not just the money that I had, but the money that I'd borrowed, credit cards. It got so bad that I ended up bankrupt. And that was about 11 years ago. Right? And even after getting sober, right? Even after my spiritual awakening, my relationship with money didn't automatically change. In fact, my awakening led me to question everything, right? And that is powerful. But I also fell into the trap that you hear in certain spiritual circles that money isn't important. Now, let me tell you straight, that is fucking bullshit, right? Let me tell you, this is an embarrassing moment, right? It was a moment for me, it was about 2 years into my awakening, right? And this moment changed, basically everything. There was no crash, no bankruptcy, no drama, right? It was me sitting in my car, staring at my fuel gauge, and it was empty, right? I had £2.14 in my bank account. That was it, okay? So I'll put £2 of fuel into my car. Well, sorry, £2.10 I put into my car, right? And I remember so clearly because I didn't want to put the full £2.14 in case I went over the 14 pence. So I put £2.10 of fuel into the car, right? And I felt fucking humiliated, right? And what made it even worse was that I was actually coaching people for free. People who could afford to pay me, but I was too scared to ask for what I was worth, too afraid to be rejected or to be seen as selfish or not spiritual. Right? That moment didn't just sting me financially, it snapped something inside of me. Right? And not because of the money, but because of the realization this isn't about the economy. It's not about my job. It's not bad luck. It's fucking me. I was the leak here. Right? And it wasn't because I was lazy, because I fucking worked so hard. And it wasn't because I didn't care, because I really did care. But because I was living out of sync with who I was meant to be. I had dreams, big ones, right? Visions, ideas. But the reality was, I wasn't going for what I truly wanted. I was playing it safe, chasing the maybe possible version of my life. I was taking action. I had structure. I had strategy. But I was using all of it to build the wrong thing. I was working hard on a watered down vision, right? I wasn't numb. I was scared, stalling, overthinking, waiting to feel ready. And in the process, the days and the pounds just kept slipping through my fingers, right? That was the mirror moment for me when I really looked at myself and I didn't see a failure. I just saw a man afraid to lead, afraid to claim his value, afraid to break his own cycle, afraid to be seen not just as capable, but as responsible. Now, this didn't fix everything overnight, but it did give me something more powerful, and that was the clarity that I needed. Right? And I remember something my mentor told me. He said, "You have created everything. Your life is, you have created it all." He says, "But the great thing about that is, if you've created it, you can create something different." Right? And that's where the shift began for me. I stopped making decisions from fear and I started choosing from truth. Right? I set boundaries with myself. Right? I tracked exactly where my money was going. I invested in what built me, right? Not what distracted me. And I started asking for what I was worth. Right? And not because I had all the answers, but because I finally seen the real problem. It was me out of alignment. And the solution, also me in alignment. Now that for me was the moment that things switched for me. Right? And see, when you face it, like really face it, your financial reality won't just shift, it will start to respond. Right? And you know, if you look back over time, right, long before banks, credit cards, crypto, wealth was never just about accumulation. It was about exchange, presence, energetic integrity. Right? In ancient Egypt, wealth wasn't hoarded, right? It was stored in alignment. See, a pharaoh's prosperity wasn't judged by his gold, but by how well he managed the energetic ecosystem of his kingdom, his people, his rituals, his word. Right? In Taoist philosophy, money was seen as chi in motion, right? A current of life force that either flowed or stagnated based on your internal harmony. Right? If your breath was shallow, if your mind was frantic, if your decisions were out of sync with nature, right, money would avoid you like a fucking blocked river avoids rocks. And also, the Stoics understood this very crystal clear. Right? Epictetus said wealth consists not of having great possessions, but in having few wants. Right? Not as an excuse to avoid money, but as a reminder, if your internal structure isn't solid, no amount of income will stabilize your life. Even samurai warriors, right, known for their fucking deadly precision, they had a code of alignment. They understood that prosperity followed honor, right? That money earned out of congruence was sacred and money earned in distortion was poison. Okay? Right? And now we are relearning what they never forgot. Money is a reflection of mastery, right? Not just of the market, but of the man. It responds to your ability to hold truth, your courage to act when afraid, your discipline to organize energy, not just chase it, the value that you bring to the world. So if you want to change your income, you have to change your internal ecosystem. Right? You want to shift your bank account balance, you have to shift your baseline of presence. You're not broke because you're bad with numbers. Right? You're stuck because you haven't built energetic credibility with yourself. And that's what we're here to do. Build it brick by brick, action by action. Right? And let's look at how we can do that, because I'm not a financial advisor, right? But I know the mistakes I've made and I've rectified them, right? Because this is not about financial advice. This is about rebuilding your credibility with yourself so that your energy stabilizes, your clarity sharpens, and money starts responding to your field instead of running from the chaos and fucking madness. Okay? And I'm going to break it down, right? This is not theory. This is stuff you can do starting from today, right? Step number 1, track the signal. Most men avoid looking at money because they associate it with shame, right? So your first move is to shine a light on that shit. Pull up your bank account, your statements, track your last 30 days of spending, right? Name what was an emotional escape, what was unconscious habit, and what was aligned action, okay? Because when you bring conscious attention to avoidance behaviors, you activate your prefrontal cortex, which is your decision-making center. You then reclaim the power to choose. Step number 2, right? So establish a sacred flow, right? Money hates confusion. It thrives in clarity, right? So create 3 channels of where your energy goes, right? So your money, stability, right? Your baseline needs, rent, food, mortgage, essentials, okay? Next one, expansion. So that's your skill and your soul, courses, books, experiences that build you, right? Last one, resonance. This is alignment investments, causes, relationships, mentors that mirror your truth, right? Every time money enters your life, you're casting a vote, right? So start voting for the future version of you, not the one that you're trying to outgrow. Money isn't evil, but unconscious money is. It robs your future to numb your present, okay? Step number 3, build a daily financial flow ritual, right? So every day, before you consume anything, create something, send a proposal, publish an insight, ask for the sale, cancel a draining subscription, invest in a skill or a mentor. Train your nervous system to link value creation with self-worth, not just scrolling, comparing, doubting. Right? See, dopamine and serotonin, they recalibrate when you take meaningful action in the direction of uncertainty. Your brain rewires to associate tension with growth, not paralysis. Okay, step number 4. This one's so important, right? This is where you shift from survival to sovereignty, right? Take some time, however long it will take. Get quiet and ask yourself, what's the life that I truly want, right? And not the one that I think is possible, the one that might coming from my heart, the one that calls from my heart. What's my true heart's desire, right? Now write it down, right? That's your vision. That's your true end result. That's your map. And see, every single day, visualize yourself living that life in that true end result, like you're already there. And then from there, come back to the present moment, right? And ask yourself, what's the next obvious action to take? Then take it. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? You don't have to feel in the right mood to take it. Just take it now, right? And yes, your old identity will try and fight this. They'll tell you things like, who do you think you are? You're going to fail. Wait until you're ready. But see that voice? That's not of truth. That's a death cry. Your old identity senses what's coming. It knows if you keep taking aligned action, it won't survive. And that's exactly the point. You're not here to preserve your past. You're here to create your future. Okay, and the last one, step number 5, anchor your identity through daily repetition, right? See, when money gets tight, how do you respond? Do you hustle harder? Do you collapse? Right, so what I want you to do is write down your new code. Whatever, it could be something like this: I am a man who creates value before he consumes it. Right, I direct my energy with integrity. I build wealth that reflects my alignment. Speak it, write it, live it. Right, you don't need a financial hack. You need integrity. You need structure. You need a vision rooted in truth and the discipline to move towards it every day. Because when your field stabilizes, your true power returns. And when your power returns, so does your wealth. Right? And it's time to lock in your legacy, brother. It really is. Because this isn't just about healing. It's about who you're becoming. Right? You came here thinking this video was about money. Right? Maybe it started that way. But see, now you know better. This was never about bank accounts. It's about belonging to yourself, to the version of you that doesn't wait for proof. The man who no longer hides behind confusion, chaos, comparison. Right? To the leader who no longer asks, can I, but declares, I fucking will. Right? And let's be clear, you're not here to chase money. You're here to master energy, to turn your time into trust, your focus into fuel, your discipline into direction. You're here to remember who the fuck you are when you're aligned. Right? That version of you, the one who tracks his energy like it matters, directs his finances like they're sacred, moves towards his vision like it's inevitable. That version is already inside you. You don't need to become him. You need to stop betraying him. And that starts right fucking now. And it's not about being perfect. It's not about performing. With one clear truth, I am no longer available for patterns that keep me poor in my pocket or in my presence. Right? You're sealing something today. And it's not just a habit. It's a fucking chapter. And in that place, a new frequency, rooted, resourced, responsible, ready. This isn't about healing your relationship with money. It's about owning your role as a steward of power for yourself, your family, your legacy, this earth. This is the moment that your story changes. So let's fucking get it. Right? And see if you're truly ready to activate that change in your body, not just in your mind. Then this field mission awaits for you. And this isn't homework. This is initiation. Every word that you've heard today, every insight that stirred you, none of it matters if it stays in your head. Right? This mission will anchor it in your fucking bones. Right? So see for the next 7 days. This is a 7-day alignment ledger. Right? Track every single pound, dollar, euro, every bit of money you spend, every bit of income, every expenditure. Doesn't matter how big or how small, log it. Right? And then tag it with energy and ask, was this grounded? Was this unconscious? Was this emotional? Was this alignment with my future self? Right? And then every day, take one financial action, right? Send a proposal, ask for the sale, cancel a draining subscription, invest in a skill or mentor, set a boundary around time or energy. And every morning, ask yourself, what would the wealth aligned version of me do today? And then take that action and the next obvious step, no matter how small, right? And then do a nightly audit, right? Where did you stay true? Where did you leak, right? What's the one shift you can make tomorrow? This is coherence in motion. And if your old identity throws a tantrum along the way, fucking brilliant, let it. Because that's the sound of the past losing its grip. Okay, brother? So if you got any value from this, if this hit you, then drop a comment below. What's the one financial habit you're breaking today? Right? Hit the subscribe button if you already haven't and the notification bell. Because we are here to not just rebuild your money, but to rebuild your mission, your legacy, you as the man. Right? And if this served you, share it with a brother who needs to remember his worth. Because the world doesn't change from more billionaires. It changes when one man restores his field and leads from it. And let's walk this path together. And as always, brothers, I truly appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. I love you guys. Have a great day. And I'll catch you on the next one. Got a video here and you can subscribe here. Take care. Bye.